Hello and welcome, I'm Chris and this is the Hair Tutorial channel, and on this channel we look at everything to do with hair, cutting, colouring, hair up, hints and tips. So if you like weekly videos on everything hairdressing, then why not like, subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss anything. Now in this week's video I'm going to be looking at a one length cut. The first thing you learn cutting wise as a hairdresser is to cut a one length, and it will serve you well through the rest of your life. Cutting one length can be very stressful if it's a very short blunt bob, or if you've just started out in hairdressing and whether you're getting to grips mastering all the different aspects of your comb, your sections and cutting a one length. So I'm going to give you my hints and tips and show you the best way to do it. So first of all, let's start off with sectioning. Sectioning is vitally important whether it's cutting or colouring. A nice clean section will help you and guide you through the cut or colour. And this is something that you can easily practice on a head block or a friend or family member. Now when it comes to sectioning, just think of sectioning like drawing a straight line on a piece of paper. If you take the pen off the paper, the line's not going to be straight. And the same goes when you're taking your section. Now you see a lot of combs actually have a designated point on the end, and this can help with sectioning by holding your hand down onto this pointed area and placing that point onto the scalp of the head and guiding it across. Then as you come to the edge of the hair, simply pull down with your comb and use your other fingers to lift the section away. Now this may take multiple practices to get, but once you get it, it makes life so much easier. Now, a clean section is going to guide you in your haircut because it's going to be a clean straight line, which will help you cut a clean straight line. And also, should you make a mistake, it will be easier to go back and find that mistake because your sectioning has been clean. Secondly is the head position, your head position and your client's head position. So firstly, let's think about your positioning. You want to get in eye level with your cut. Now, if your client's hair is particularly long, this may involve asking them to stand up, come round behind the chair, lean their hands on the chair so that you then can stand behind them and become more eye level with the cut that you're doing. And there's nothing wrong with doing this, especially if the hair is very, very long. If their hair maybe isn't that long, you're going to want to pull up a stool and sit down so that again you come at eye position to the level you're cutting. And it may even involve, in some instances, if the stool's not available, kneeling down onto the floor. But being at the same level as you're cutting will be much easier for you. Next, the client's head position. Now again, explaining to the client in the consultation, especially if it is a very blunt cut, that they need to keep their head still is going to be very important. And you may have to just gently remind them of this if they're looking down to check their phone or read a magazine. You'll see a lot of experienced stylists put the head forward and maybe even push the hair against the nape of the neck. Now when you have experience, this isn't so much of a problem. However, when you first start out, this is actually going to cause reverse graduation. So if I show you with this head block, you can see that the head block is in a neutral position. The paper that I'm holding against it is also just hanging down just like hair would. And you can see that it is straight. Now let's tilt the head forward and then let's push the paper against the head and then let's shuffle the paper into a straight line. Now look what happens when I bring the head back up to a neutral position. As you can see, I've caused reverse graduation. This isn't such a problem when you become an experienced stylist. You can just take it off at the end of the haircut. However, maybe if you're starting out cutting, you may then think that you've made a mistake, or this may throw you a little. Sometimes having the client's head down in that position as well isn't very comfortable for them, especially again if you're just starting out and it may be for a long period of time whilst you do the cut. So keep the head in a neutral position. Now again, taking your sections. Obviously your first section is vitally important. You want this section to be clean and you want the first section to be straight. If it's not, everything else is going to be off. When you're taking your subsequent sections, make sure that they're nice and fine and that you can clearly see your guide section. You've all heard the tale of slow and steady wins the race, the tortoise and the hare, and this goes for hairdressing too. You want to take your time. It will save you so much time later on. Nice, small, clean sections where you can clearly see your guide. Now you may have clicked on this video because you saw the thumbnail and the comb that I was using and thought, what is that? Now this is just a regular hairdressing comb. And this here is a little bubble spirit. And I'll link these below. You can get these in packs of 1 or 6 off of Amazon, so I'll put a link below. And they come in a little case, and you just pop them out of the case, and then with a tiny bit of super glue, you glue it to your comb. You can stick it in any position that you want, along the comb, on top of the comb, or underneath the comb, wherever you feel is best suited for you. Now, there may be some people in the comments that aren't going to particularly like this, but this is a very useful tool, and we use a lot of tools in hairdressing that help us, that save us time, and this is no different. Now, I don't advocate that you become a stylist and you use this for the rest of your life. What this is used for is just like stabilizers on a bike when you're learning to ride. Hairdressing is about getting your eye in, just like learning to ride a bike is about learning to balance. Haircuts need to be balanced too. So using something like this can take away some of the stress when you first start cutting. On your first couple of cuts, using a comb that you've adapted like this will just help you to get your eye in, get your balance in. Then, after a couple of cuts, ditch this comb and use your regular comb, and maybe every 5 and 6 sections just use this to check that your line is still straight. Then after a couple more cuts, use your comb to cut the haircut, and maybe just check your haircut with this comb. It's just a quick and simple way to take the stress out of beginning to learn to cut a straight line. And like anything, you will develop an eye for something, and you will know instantly whether the line is straight, even if it's just a couple of millimeters, after you've done a couple of 100 haircuts. Now obviously on a comb you have 2 different widths. You have your fine and your thicker. Obviously your fine comb is going to give you more tension on the hair, and your thicker one is going to give you a looser tension on the hair. Now when you come up towards the crown area on a haircut, or when you're cutting over the ear, this is when I would use the wider section of my comb. Now using this will mean that it will allow a little bit of a jump. So what I mean is people's crowns can act differently, go in different directions or stand up. And the same with the ear. If you pull the tension too tight and cut it, then when the haircut is dried, the ear can make a little jump in the cut. By using the wider tooth on the comb, it allows for this. If it's a little bit too long, well that's not a problem, because then you can trim it off. Better to trim that off than to have this jump in the haircut. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe, hit the notification button, and why not check out some more videos that are coming up.